One thing I hate about this platform is that it's not Zoom. So for everyone watching, we're using Restream and Zoom. It like mirrors your image, so it looks like you're looking into a mirror. But this, I'm seeing what everyone else sees, but I never see. So my face looks super crooked. I'm like, dude, is my posture messed up? We're gonna be talking about posture a lot during this episode. I just thought that every time I log into Restream because I've been using Zoom a lot for the end of COVID, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with my face? Like it looks super crooked. I don't know.
Say it's like as if it's like you got a certain a treatment and you're like this and they're like looking at
Yes,
you
dude. Yeah.
like I swear it's not, it's just this camera, it's just Restream. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, Pat, I'm super excited for this conversation, and I'm not just saying that. First off, because I was on your show, and it was like one of my favorite podcast appearances that I've ever been on, just because you're so easy to talk to, and we just riffed for like an hour and a half on a number of things, just talking about what excites us these days, and it was just fun. It was just a fun and a live conversation. And it's funny because I was asking what your official title is with the new biology clinic, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit. And you're like, I don't know, like movement specialist guy that just makes sure everyone's having fun. And I'm like, yeah, I like that. That's good. That's good. So let's start with this. Um, let's talk about your background in the sort of training realm and what led you to do what you do now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first off, dude, thanks for having me on. And yeah, for those who have not seen it, my podcast is the Pat Life podcast, and more than anything, we're not trying to necessarily plug it. It's just more of
You
my
already plug it. No, we're plugging it
well,
at the end.
well, the reason why I start with that is because like you said, I want with all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, and this leads to your question. I was like, you know what, man? How can we just literally take a breath through all of this,
Mm,
and for myself first and foremost, and try to understand how to, you know, not cope, but really overcome. Like you're always talking about, like the way forward, essentially. So, we that's what we were diving into in our conversation. But that all leads to your question because, as I said, I've been a personal trainer world for over 12 years now, 11, 12 years. And, when I was younger, it was like, all right, I'm going to work out and, get into shape, look good, yada, yada, yada. And then over time, I was like, there's more to this that we're not being told. I'm not quite sure what's being missed here, but just something didn't feel right. And obviously, with all of the people listening who understand like the medical industry and how things just don't add up, you start asking questions. I had a lot of questions when I was training. And what that led me to was it's like, okay, we're talking about the body. We're talking about, breathing a little bit, like calming down, cool downs, meditation. But I was like, we're talking about mindset, but there's a huge component that there's like something's missing. And what it realized was it was the spirit, like
mhm.
truly the spirit, not just breathing, but like the essence of what the breath means and everything else behind that. And so that kind of led me not just on that journey of figuring that out, but also like, kind of reconnecting with God and that whole thing of realizing,
And when
oh,
was this?
oh man, this was probably like 6 years ago, 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it was a slow burn. At first, it was like the questions started coming into my head. I'm like, nah, this isn't making much sense.
Mhm.
And what was the fascinating thing is early on, I got humbled. You're like, all right, I'm in trainer mode. I'm starting to do all this stuff. I'm taking the classes. I'm getting the certifications. And then someone's coming in like, oh, I'm going to do a squat. And then they're like doing it and it looks perfect. And they're like, but I still feel an immense amount of pain. And now I'm sitting there with my tail between my legs going, I don't know
Like
the
they
answer.
have perfect form according to what I've learned with
Right.
personal training. What's the deal
E-
here? Yeah.
exactly. So I was going, something's not making sense here. And now you're like, I have to figure out because they've come to me for help. And I had to
Yeah.
realize I'm like, I'm not the answer. Like I had
Mhm.
to let myself know real quick, like I have to let my ego go of like, I will not save you. But I also have someone who's coming to me. I need to know how to understand them more,
Yeah.
understand and appreciate them as an individual, not as just a textbook material
Mhm.
symptom, which is what we're seeing obviously at the medical industry. And that's, kind of sidetracked, but that's why, with the new biology clinic we'll get into, that's why I love it because it is so much about the individual story.
Mm.
Yeah, we'll talk about, the body and its design and how we all have this design in many ways, but at the end of the day, it's the individual story. And so
I
as I
love
was,
the use of story. I want to stop there for a second because I
yeah,
love
yeah,
the use of story rather than the individual's health. Because like health just implies a lot of the times like physical, just like physical stuff.
hmm,
When you say story, at least for me, that comes with the implications of understanding all of the things, like every piece of it. And it's not that, health does not incorporate the mind, body, and spirit. It absolutely does. It's just that when people are talking about this individual's health, there's a tendency for both allopathic and alternative health approaches to just focus on, okay, physical, like input in, output out, like those types of things, when it's much more nuanced and, I don't want to say complex, but there's much more to it than that. And so when you say story, it's like, that's bringing in all of the additional context that is leading to this person expressing the way that they do.
absolutely. And I use story too, just also because for those who don't listen to my show or know who I am, I also have a film and television background. I write films. So that's something that I'm very passionate about and I do a lot of. And with that, when you understand you're building characters, you have to build a character that's not just health, meaning the physical body. Because when
Yeah.
you go to a theater and you watch somebody, if it's good quality and it's not, putting stuff in your, programming, but
Yeah.
you start to realize that a superficial character is not fun to watch. There's nothing
Mhm.
about them that really keeps you connected to the story. And when you understand that we are our own story, we're living our own story, our own whatever film, whatever you may be, it's the complexities that make it so interesting. And it's seeing that different levels of how you handle stresses, how you handle the happiness, how you handle the hardships, how we handle the discomfort. That's what I
Mhm.
always say is we want to find the comfort in the discomfort. That is what I am always trying to, let's just say, preach or spread that message, because most of us want to live comfortably.
Yeah.
Well, when you live comfortably, that's the mundane for most of us.
Well,
It's
dude,
going,
that's also what leads people to like this idea of living in comfort is what leads people to sort of stuff down the temporary pain that they have to experience in order to heal, whether that is physical or mental, spiritual. And the stuffing down the pain physically manifests chronic disease and chronic inflammation, chronic pain. And the stuffing down mentally, spiritually can also lead to those things, but leads to things like chronic depression, chronic anxiety. It's this like desiring comfort over the willingness to experience temporary, very unpleasant, very hard, very challenging, discomfortable things.
oh, 100%. And what's super, I mean, not to get, I know we're kind of going here, and
Yeah, it's
this is
dude,
how,
this is how it's gonna go.
that's how I roll.
That's how I
So
roll too. That's why this is
um,
gonna be a good conversation.
well, what's cool though, man, is when I train people and I get them to that, let's just say like almost like a threshold precipice of discomfort, what's fascinating to watch is this experience that we're talking about here is this, I call it the dual, like a dual version of all of us that starts to basically surface. It's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen with people, because what you start to see is how people cope.
Mhm.
It's a real, and it's a way where it's not too strenuous, where it's like, again, you're creating a massive trauma response like we saw the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's enough of a short kind of hit of that discomfort where you see this experience. And what I mean by that is I'll take somebody who's like, yeah, yeah, no, I do this. I can train and whatever. I have this, I'm pretty good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just have you get into like a lunge, but not just like your idea of a lunge. I'm gonna be, it's very specific. We think, okay, where's my foot? Do I feel my foot? It's very intention driven. And what's fascinating to watch is when you get someone and I say, I want you to tell me when you feel that connection from your foot to your glute. And you see them go and they're thinking, they're trying to find it. And then they're like, oh, okay, there it is. And what happens is a lot of, and that's just one example, but most people who don't have awareness or they haven't practiced in breathe, those aren't asked to stay. The difference is on subconscious stress, or we're like, oh, I'm just stressed. But there's never this immediate stress that's sitting right in front of your body and through the physical. If
Mhm.
that makes sense. And somebody in there, then all of a sudden you see see people start laughing. I've seen people talk to themselves, start cursing. You know, I've seen people start asking me about my. Do you, just breathe. I need you to breathe. Don't ask me questions. Just breathe. The hands start to do this, and this is super important because for me, what I realized is that will go there.
Pat, brother, you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, can you hear me now? Is that better?
It says your Wi-Fi, so your network connection is a 3 out of 10. Not sure.
Oh, sorry about that. Give me one
You're good, dude. This happens. It's all good.
Is it better now?
It's still pretty bad, unless it's just on my end. If people in the comments, if you're watching, could you let me know if Pat's coming in choppy to you too?
Yeah, it looks like. I have full Wi-Fi. It just looks like through this streaming platform. Let's give it an extra minute. Is line back on?
Yeah. Leave for a second and come back on. I can plug the end of COVID while you're gone. It's all good.
Yeah, perfect. Let me do that real quick. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Here, I'll throw you out so you can come back on. There we go. Cool. Okay. Yeah, this is Pat's an awesome dude. So it's gonna be when he robot Pat, yeah. Sean. Pat's an awesome dude, and I had a really good conversation with him on his podcast. And for those that are watching, some exciting things. The somehow, I don't know if any of you saw this, but somehow my podcast was for like a week-long period sustained above Sanjay Gupta's podcast and CNN, above Dr. Drew, ahead of Dave Asprey and a few other podcasts in the charts, which is just like nuts to me. But I so appreciate everyone continuing to tune in. It's really cool. I just like having good conversations with people, and I think people really appreciate the candid conversations that I have, the authenticity behind it. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. And I hope if you're watching this and listening to this, you're checking out the end of COVID too. What we've put together there is really an incredible resource to understand the depth of what happened the last 3.5 years, and also understand the terrain-based health position, and to unlearn all of the mistruths, the falsehoods surrounding what makes us sick, and begin to understand what makes the body well. Okay, Pat's coming back on. Let's see if this works. It says no video feed. Weird. Does anyone have any questions while we're waiting for Pat? It says you're good now. No, now it says you're low again. Dang, I don't know. Here, what we might have to do, Pat, and it's all good, is you and I can just record it on Zoom, and then we'll just upload it afterwards. It's not a big deal. So I'll shoot you a Zoom link. Sorry, guys. You'll get to watch this after Pat and I record. Okay, I'm gonna shoot you a Zoom link real quick.